So today I would like to talk about data arrangement. Data arrangement got two types, which is frequency distribution, relative frequency, and the last one is cumulative frequency. So here I will touch a little bit about the three types of grouped data. For the frequency distribution is a grouping of data into mutually exclusive categories showing the number of observations in each others. Next, for the relative frequency is the portion of percentage of the data that falls within the class of observation in each others. Next, for the relative frequency is the portion of percentage of the data that falls within the class. And the last one is cumulative frequency. Cumulative frequency means the average frequency of the class is the sum of the frequency of the class and all of prior classes. So I will touch a little bit on the last point at the data arrangement, which is cumulative frequency. As you guys can see, the table beside me, we got 5 rows only, which is 222 until 296. For the frequency, we got 88426, and the total is 28, which is the size of condominium is 28, so we got 28 at here. And for the relative frequency, how to calculate that? Easy. Just take a frequency and then just divide 28, because 28 is the total of the frequency. And the last one is cumulative frequency. Our cumulative frequency is 8, 16, 20, 22, and 28. How to get it? Just look at back the frequency and the number at the second row. Just multiply just add the number before, which is 8 add 8, 4 add 8 add 8. So you will get the 8, 16, 20, 22, and 28.
Graphical method is using three graphs, which is histogram, polygon, and ogive. Histogram using a bar graph. Horizontal scale is quantitative and measure data value, which is class boundary or class midpoint. The vertical scale measure the frequency of the class. To complete this histogram graph, we need to count the class interval, lower boundary, upper boundary, midpoint, and frequency. Based on the graph, we label the graph using class midpoint. Both midpoint 200
of central datasets for grouped data. First, the mean. To calculate the mean for grouped data, first find the midpoint denoted as X of each class and the multiply of midpoint by the frequency denoted as F of the corresponding classes. The sum of this product denoted by sigma fx given at approximation for the sum of all value. To find the value of the mean, divide this sum by the total number of observations in the data. It can be simplified population mean and simple mean, where sigma f number of entries in population or sample. So the mean 7,102 divided by 28. So the mean 253,000.64. Next, the median. The median for grouped data can be calculated using following formula. We choose class 237 until 251. The frequency is 8 and the cumulative frequency is 16. So the mean is 247.75. And the last is mode. The mode for grouped data can be calculated using of the formula. We choose 237 until 251. And the frequency is 8. So, the mode of grouped data is 236.5.
My name is Sasi Warman. Now I am explaining about the measurement of the variation that our group going to this calculation to get correct solution. There is a three type of method, that is range, variations, and also the standard deviations. So how to get the range means we just calculate the maximum data entry and minus to the minimum data entry, so we get the approximate range calculation. And how to get the variance, that means we need to do the total frequency with the one value of the observation minus mean square divided by total frequency minus 1. And the simple is the standard deviation. The standard deviation, you need to do the only square root. You just take the formula is value of the variation square rooted. That's all. Thank you.
What is measure of position? Measure of position is a method by which the position that a particular data value has within a given data set can be identified. As with other type of measure, there is more than one approach can do defining such a measure. The data must be sorted from the lowest to the highest. There are three different measures of position, which is quartile, percentile, and deciles. In this assignment, we use quartile for grouped data to measure the position. The position of quartile for grouped data can be calculated by using this formula. The first quartile, which symbolized by Q subscript 1 equal to N over 4, and the third quartile will symbolized by Q subscript 3 equal to 3N over 4. The value of quartile for grouped data can be calculated using this formula. The first quartile which will symbolized by Q subscript 1 is equal to L Q1 plus N over 4 minus capital F and then over small f of Q1 minus C. While third quartile, which will symbolized by Q subscript 3 is equal to L of Q subscript 3 plus 3N over 4 minus capital F and then over small f Q3 minus C, where LQ is going to represent the lower class boundary quartile class, while the N is going to represent the number of observation or total frequency. The capital F is going to represent cumulative frequency before quartile class. For the small f of Q is going to represent frequency of quartile class, and lastly C is going to represent of class size or class width. This is the table of the data that we collect. After the table complete, we can find for Q1 and Q3. Like I said before, the formula to find the location of Q1 and Q3 is, for the first quartile, is Q1 equal to N over 4, while the N will be 28. 28 will over 4 equal to 7. And the third quartile is Q3 equal to 3N over 4, while 3 will times to 28 over 4 is equal to 21.
This is the calculation value of Q1. In the right side, the shown LQ subscript 1 equal to 222, while C is equal to 14, F equal to 8, and capital F equal to 8. After we calculate, the answer of Q1 is equal to 223.75. It's similar to 224. Hence, the answer of 224 is still in classes of 222 until 236. After that, we calculate the value of Q3. In the right side, LQ subscript 3 equal to 267, while C equal to 14, F equal to 2, capital F equal to 20. After we calculate, the answer of Q3 is equal to 272. Hence, the answer of 272 is still in classes of 267 until 281. Last but not least, we calculate the interquartile range, which the formula of interquartile range is equal to Q subscript 3 minus Q subscript 1. Now, the answer for IQR is equal to 48.